own age, which is really important to me. And I know that many people in Caroline County cannot afford to drive to Fredericksburg to a fitness center or to any other center that even closer to here. So this would be a great opportunity for your county. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Charlene Allen, and I'm a school bus driver. And I'd just like to say, they were talking about the YMCA. If the county has to fund that, why can't they use that money for the school system, to help us with raises and what we need? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Paul Lees from the Madison District. With the need for social services, schools, school bus driver raises, I do not understand how with a $85 million plus deficit that this county can afford a YMCA at this time. Now, I would be the first one to sign up if our county could afford it, but I don't think we can. All our services, the sheriff's office, everybody in this county is begging for money because they just don't have enough. And I don't see how we can possibly afford, for the good of the people of this county, a YMCA that's going to cost us $5 million. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kerry Bischoff. I'm in the Bowling Green District. In April, late April, I planted a garden, put tomatoes in it, and I really would have enjoyed having a tomato sandwich. But I had to wait. I planted it and I had to wait. So you plant a seed, you put in the time, you put in due diligence, and you bear what? Vegetables, fruits, whatever the case may be. I think we're in a situation in this county where we have taste buds that would prefer the nicer things in life, but we can only afford Captain Crunch. If we go at this with the YMCA in a more conservative manner, I'm not saying don't do it. It's a good thing. I think it'll grow on its own. I think it'll be very successful. A lot of YMCAs may start out in storefronts. This county's full of storefronts that are empty. It's a win-win. The folks that have empty storefronts win, the citizens win, and it becomes self-supporting. It doesn't have to ride on the backs of the taxpayers, and I think it's a good way to go. I think it's something to consider. I'm not against it. I'll be honest with you, my wife works for the YMCA. I'm not against the YMCA. I just don't think it's a prudent thing for us to do right now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. I'm Tony Spencer from the Madison District, Commonwealth's Attorney of Caroline County.
Mr. Spencer, you're coming to us as the Commonwealth's Attorney, right?
Yes, I am coming as Commonwealth's Attorney. I am not coming to ask for money. As you know, we had requested certain things in the budget. We had asked the county to make up for the loss of grant funding. The Board of Supervisors could not find the money to do that. I accept that. I understand that. It put me in a position where I was going to have to lay someone off. And so what I did is I spent a lot of time, and by the way, let me say that we have a real gem working for us here in Caroline County, the Director of Finance, Ms. Hatcher. She's got wisdom and intelligence and great good humor. She has spent so much time working with me on this. We have communicated by telephone, email, in person. I can't say how many times a day. Too many. And Mr. Parton's been very helpful with this. But what we did is we took the budget and we moved things around. And I'm going to have to reduce salaries slightly in my office. My office is not on the county pay plan. I didn't feel it was fair to ask everyone else in my office to make a sacrifice and not make a sacrifice myself. My salary is as low as it can possibly get under the law for an elected full-time Commonwealth attorney, so I couldn't take a pay cut. So what we did is we have a new budget that I hope you will accept from my office. It doesn't require an extra penny from what you've already adopted. My budget now has, for postal services, 0. For travel expense, 0. For dues and association members, 0. Meals and food supplies, 0. Office supplies, we have 2,000. We get reimbursed by the State Compensation Board for up to 2,000 approximately. So anything over that, we've taken that out of the budget. We have a car that we got through asset forfeiture. We are getting rid of that car to get rid of the motor vehicle insurance costs, the fuel costs, et cetera. But now you're going to ask, well, who's going to pay for postage? And that's how I'm going to make my contribution. I said everyone has to make a sacrifice. I'm going to pay for our postage. I'm going to pay for our travel expenses out of pocket. I'm going to pay for our dues and membership fees, our books and subscriptions. I've had a meeting with my staff. They weren't happy with what I was telling them, but they understood the need for it. And what I'm asking you to do is to accept the new budget we have prepared. It will not cost the county a penny, but it will allow me to keep everybody in my office without having to lay anyone off. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spencer.
I'm Kathy Self from Bowling Green. I am on the electoral board. Mr. Thomas, at the last supervisors meeting, we had asked for additional funds for the registrar's office. At that time, I asked when we could expect an answer from you and was told that your answer would be forthcoming tonight. At this time, I'm asking the board members what your decision is as far as the additional funds needed for personnel for the registrar's office.
We haven't done the budget, and this is not really the forum. You get to make a statement now for your case, but we are still negotiating the budget, and that's a few items down on the agenda.
Okay.
So we're not ready to tell you yes or no.
Okay, then let me ask you a question this time, if you don't
Well, it's
mind.
not a question and answer, it's your statements.
Okay, no, but what I'm saying is when you get to that section, could I come back in and talk?
When we get to that section, if we have questions, we will ask you to come back in, but you will not be given an opportunity to come back and talk. If you
So
would
in
like
other words,
to,
if you don't have a question for me specifically on ours, then you will not be asking me to come back and talk to you.
that is correct. If you would like to use this time now, I'll start all over, and you could use this time to present your case on why you should have additional funding.
Okay, then at this time, gentlemen, I have a letter that I would like to read. We have copies for each one of you. And please believe me, the only reason I'm doing it at this time is because you're telling me I might not have the opportunity to do this later. It says, gentlemen, over the past years, the need for help in the registrar's office has been requested and ignored by the county. The electoral board has tried to be team players throughout this process. Within the next fiscal year, we are anticipating an August 2011 primary for the 99th House, in the November 2011 general election, March 2012 presidential primary, June the 12th and June 2012, and a primary for other offices. And then we will have town and presidential elections in November of 2012. We do understand the financial condition of the county. We have had the need and have requested this position for the registrar's office for the last 4 years. It has been repeatedly cut out of the budget every time, and we have accepted this. Due to the increase in population and responsibilities handed down by the State Board of Elections, we now must rely on Virginia State Code Section 24.2-112 that allows us to act in the best interest of the voters of Caroline County. That section says assistance to the general registrar and employees. The electoral board shall determine the number and set the term for the assistant registrars. However, their terms shall not extend beyond the term set by the law of the incumbent general registrar. The general registrar shall establish the duties of the assistant registrars, appoint assistant registrars, and have the authority to remove any such person who fails to discharge the duties of his or her office. All assistant registrars shall have the same limitations, qualifications, and fulfill the same requirements as the general registrar. At this point, we are no longer asking, but are now stating that the registrar shall place an ad in the paper forthwith to hire one full-time employee with the county benefits to be an assistant registrar in order to fulfill the part of the law that states the assistant shall have the same limitations and qualifications, fulfill the same requirements as the general registrar. Attached, you will find a list of the expectations and responsibilities of that office that they handle in the course of the year. This is a partial list and is not intended to be all-inclusive. Thank you very much, and this is presented by the chairman, myself as vice chairman, and Mr. Matthew as secretary.
Thank you, Ms. Self. And Ms. Self, just so you know, I'm not making up the rules.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
just really kind of following the rules.
Oh, no, I have no problem with that. I just wanted to establish, if we waited, would I have a chance to present
Okay.
that to you? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Give me 1 second, please.
Sure.
Give mine to Ben, or let Ben see yours, and see if I have to follow this. Thank you. Thank you for your patience, ma'am. Go right ahead.
Tammy Best, Port Royal. I have a problem with the county issuing 2 permits now in the past 2 weeks for fireworks in a rural area. These were not your normal little fireworks you can buy at the store. They were professionally done fireworks. The site that the fireworks were set off are 1,000 feet or less from my house. And it's unacceptable. Not only are they causing problems for the people who have livestock in the area, but it's way too close to my house and my bedroom. Unfortunately, I get up at 3 a.m. I go to bed by 9. He doesn't start the fireworks till between 9:30 and 10 o'clock. Interrupts everybody's sleep and causes lots of problems in the area. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Tom Laughlin. I'm in the Port Royal District. I'd like to thank Bobby Popowitz for his responsiveness and support of my wife. And again, it deals with the issuance of fireworks permits. As I think we all know, the state sets the general rules and regulation and laws, statutes that deal with the detonation of display type, the things that are not considered safe and sound that require a permit. We've had some really horrific fireworks displays in our neighborhood. To a point, I was out of town on business in North Carolina. My wife was alone, only found out about it because a neighbor ran over and let her know that was going on. She was in a barn by herself trying to maintain a 1,500-pound horse that was trying to jump out of the stall. She got bruised. This has gone on a regular basis now. I think in a rural county such as Caroline, consideration must be given to the farmers, the people that have livestock. Now, there are places perhaps where these type of fireworks with proper supervision and detonation are fine. But I think it's totally inappropriate and totally non-compatible with a rural agricultural area where horses and cattle are by their nature animals of flight. We met with the chief and he was most helpful. My wife phoned 911 when she was being battered by the horse. A gentleman came from the county to look at the damage to the horse's stall. My wife was bruised. The response was, he has a permit. Now, I'll share with you, and I won't take up much of your time. About a year ago, my boys and I were doing some trap shooting. Those of you that shoot, these are trap loads, very light loads. A neighbor was ill, who was probably about 350 to 400 yards away. A deputy came by and said, the neighbor has complained of the noise. We immediately apologized. I said, gee, I'm terribly sorry. I wish they'd just called us. We would have stopped. Immediately ceased what we were doing. That consideration, when my wife phoned 911, and we'd forward for the tape on that, the CD on that, was told, he has a permit. Nothing we can do. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. So what we're asking is that in a rural county like Caroline, that consideration be given, because it's very difficult, I think, for the chief to make an opinion when the town attorney says he's not in violation of any of the ordinances, because quite candidly, gentlemen, there are not any ordinances, because it echoes and mirrors what the state has, and we spoke to the state fire marshal on this. So I respectfully request that this be looked at. And I'm not saying that commercial-grade fireworks shouldn't be fired in the county, but special consideration, I think, should be given to those folks that either have livestock or in the business. There's a law in the state of Virginia that allows farmers to farm, even at the protest of those that built subdivisions. It should also be equally true that those that have livestock and enjoy the tranquility and peace of this lovely county have the opportunity to do so in peace without being put in danger. So I respectfully request that when you consider this, gentlemen, that you take into account the agricultural aspect of this, and perhaps say at least that if one wants to fire commercial grade, what they call in the pyrotechnics, American Association of Pyrotechnics, non-safe and sound, because there are safe and sound fireworks, that at least the neighbors within, and I don't know what the right distance, a quarter of a mile, half a mile, are asked.
Mr. Loughlin,
Yes, sir.
Could you summarize, please?
In summary, just please, take a look, the type of county we are, the type of livestock that is in this county, and is the juice worth the squeeze to let someone let off 20 minutes of fireworks at the risk of others? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to speak as part of the public comment section? Is there anyone else who would like to speak as part of the public comment section? Is there anyone else who would like to speak as part of the public comment section? Hearing none, we will declare the public comment section closed. Under normal circumstances, the public comment section is just that, so we will, unless there are any discussions that would like to take place, we will accept all the public comments, and probably the action item from there is Chief will have to look at the ordinance. I know there is a county ordinance that allows fireworks. I'm not sure it's a multiple use ordinance. I thought it was a one-time or something of that nature. So we will take a look at that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I've already asked the chief to do that, and he's working on that.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We will move on and we will handle the public hearing. Mr. Fincham, is that yours? Mr. Schiebel, that's a right-of-way, utility right-of-way. We'll do the public hearing, and after the public hearing, I'd like to take a brief break. Mr. Schiebel, you have agenda item number 4, vacation of existing utility right-of-way by Highway Services Ventures Incorporated.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Tonight's public hearing is for the vacation of a utility easement previously conveyed to the county. In 1988, the county acquired the deed of easement from Highway Service Ventures Incorporated in conjunction with the public utility water system. The easement is used for the water line in conjunction to provide water from our well system to the main. In approximately 1999, the county rerouted the well to the water tower and has ceased use of that easement. As such, Blue Beacon Truck Wash has been asked to undergo some additional treatment for the industrial pretreatment and needs to expand their facility where the easement is currently located. There's no foreseeable use for this particular easement, and they have put forth before you a recommendation to vacate that easement. Be glad to answer any questions of the board.
Board members, this time have any questions of Mr. Shebel? Mr. Shebel, thank you very much. I don't believe there would be an applicant involved. Is there a representative from Highway Services here? Not that they would have to be. Oh,
There is, I don't know if he's speaking tonight, but he was here just as a representative to be here. Thank you.
all righty. So basically, we are vacating this right-of-way, and I will declare the public hearing to be open. Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is declared closed. Board members, how do you wish to act on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we vacate the easement as presented by staff.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Pompowitz, seconded by Mr. Seeley, that we vacate the easement as suggested by staff. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously, and we're going to take a 15-minute break. Wow. Who controls my volume? I'm trying to use my indoor voice. I was using my outdoor voice for so long, and I don't really have an indoor voice, so. Okay. Am I lower? All right, we'll reconvene. We have a few more agenda items on this evening's agenda. Unfinished business, which is our next agenda item, which is the consideration of a resolution requesting the Industrial Development Authority, also known as the IDA, of Caroline County to issue, offer, and sell its public facility lease revenue bond anticipation notes in the amount of up to $8,500,000 for payments of costs associated with upgrades to the Bowling Green Primary School, a county recreational facility to be used as a YMCA, and the acquisition and purchasing of an ambulance. That's Mr. Rogers? Okay. Mr. Rogers?
Yes, sir.
I imagine there will be a little bit of discussion on this agenda item, but you will give us the financial background that goes with it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
The current plan to take care of all of the three projects, the ambulance, the schools renovation, as well as the recreational facility run by the Y. Basically, the plan is to sell these in the public market. The idea is still the same as we've talked before. It'd be a 5-year note, be interest only. It would be such that you can call it somewhere between 12 and 18 months after we issue the bonds, to the extent that there are funds available through various means, whether it be the lit loan program to pay down the school piece, rural development, or some other takeout on the recreational Y piece, or should there be some campaign monies from donations to help pay down the Y piece. We can call those without penalty sometime before that 5th year. This will be a fixed rate, basically set in the marketplace. If you approve this evening, the plan is to go to market sometime in July, and we would be closing roughly 2 weeks after that day. So the resolution that is before the board basically gives us a not-to-exceed figure of $8.5 million, with the not-to-exceed interest rate of 5.5%, and that includes the cost of issuance. These numbers will run at a interest rate of we're thinking in the 3 to 4 range. I think we discussed at our meetings before. That number is still what we're thinking. We won't know until we get into the marketplace and actually get out into the marketing of the bonds and sell before we'll actually know the exact rate. This is simply, this is similar, I should say, to what we've done in the past with some of our public sales going through the IDA. It's just instead of it being 20 years, this is going to be over 5.
Which is temporary funding, basically, and then after 5 years or somewhere during that 5-year period, right, we can go out to the open market for hopefully a lower interest rate or something of that nature.
Exactly. And at that point, hopefully a lower number too, should there be some other dollars available.
Exactly.
Right. And the lit loan takeout would be at 3%. That's the the county's rate at the moment, and that's what we'll be applying for.
Okay. Thank you. One last thing from your summary, just to make sure we all have the right information, or at least on the same page. The proposed borrowing, the new debt service would be in the amount of $234,000, $234,857 exactly. 74,000 for the, 31,000 for the principal and interest for the ambulance, 74,000 for the school right away, and 128,000 for the Y project.
Yes,
Sounds right?
that's our current estimates based on the figures currently. That's on the high side, at the 4% side of the actual, what I'll call the current interest rate. One note on there is that the ambulance is going to be paid. We're going to be paying the principal, amortizing that principal during the 5 years, so that piece is not interest only. So that at the end of the 5 years, that's not something we would end up rolling any further out.
At this point, I know there was, well, let's just cut to the chase. The board has basically approved the funding of the ambulance. I think Chief Lehman has probably ordered the ambulance already, and is it close to delivery yet?
We'll be reimbursing ourselves for that money.
Right. So we said we would do that. The Board of Supervisors also in joint meetings and separately made a commitment to the school board to go ahead and do the Bowling Green primary project.
That's correct.
So realistically, the only thing we have in doubt and hadn't formally said we would do was the Y project. So I think there would probably be some discussion on that. Mr. Akers, we'll start at this end, this go round.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, appreciate it. And I would say to the board, you've heard comments this evening, certainly in favor of and opposition to the YMCA building. Let me say to those that are saying we need to take money that's going to be used for the Y to pay for schools and those type of things, that I'm not sure where you've gotten the information from. I think I know, but I'm not sure. But it is not factual information. The fact is the YMCA will be paid for through proffers and through a capital campaign. And that's what we've always talked in terms of. And that has not changed. I know that this county needs facilities. We heard people say, I support the YMCA. Well, I would hope that knowing this new information, then you can fully support the YMCA. The fact is, Caroline County 2 years ago paid over $400,000 to the juvenile detention centers to house our juveniles. Now, will this save all of those juveniles? Will we be able to say there's no juveniles going to go into the juvenile detention center? No. But if we can save one or two of them by providing a place for them to go in the afternoons, or providing them a place to go in the evenings, and not go onto the streets to create issues and problems, then to me it's well worth it. Caroline County has the highest obesity rate among teenagers among the 16th district. Fredericksburg, Spotsylvania, Stafford, King George, and Caroline, the 5 localities. Caroline County has the highest obesity rate. Caroline County has the second highest teenage pregnancy rate in that same 5 jurisdiction district. If you're able to reach several of those people, then again you've served the purpose of having a Y. A Y is not only for young people and teenagers, but a Y is also for senior citizens. And you heard that tonight being talked about. You heard the families that come tonight and talked in terms of how they have enjoyed the open door program where their children have been able to go and enjoy the Y. I think this is a project that is right for Caroline County. I think it's a project that will certainly improve Caroline County's stand, if you will, in the region. And I think that we would be doing a terrible injustice to the people of Caroline County if we did not provide something for them to do. And this particular venue is one that I think is best. Caroline County cannot afford the recreational opportunities that the YMCA would provide. I can assure you of that.
And one nice thing about this is the fact, once the building has been built, it will still be owned by Caroline County. It will be leased to the YMCA organization, and they will run the programs. So there's just no way Caroline County could provide all of the programs and opportunities that a YMCA would provide for the people of this county. Again, I want to reiterate is the fact that this project will be paid for through proffers and through capital campaign. No question in my mind at all. It will be paid for through those venues, not by county tax dollars.
Mr. Sealy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's interesting that in our discussions this year of budget, we've had to talk about a number of capital projects that have been that are extremely expensive. One of which we didn't even put on the plate this year, which is the Caroline High School renovation, around $10 million. And it's not that it won't need to be done, it's a hope and a prayer that we won't have to do it until we're ready. It's the HVAC and the renovations of the buildings, $10 million. That's just one. We're looking at a communication system that, yeah, it may come in under $12 million, but it's going to be at least $8 to $10 million in its county funds also. We've now learned that we're going to have to look at an alternative water situation for the western side of the county, which is going to have to come from someplace else. That too is going to cost county funds to do that. In 2013, the county has a $2 million step up in principal payments, so it's interesting that we're going to take a 5-year loan and pay interest only and hope for a lower interest rate 5 years from now. I don't believe we're going to see lower interest rates 5 years from now. I'm not sure we'll see lower interest rates a year from now. The other curious thing is there isn't a piece of land even mentioned in this whole document that we have before us to approve funding for the Y. So it's still not clear where the Y will be built or on what piece of land it'll be built on. You know, we have a Parks and Recs department. They work very hard at doing a lot of programs for children and for adults as well. They run baseball leagues, volleyball leagues, basketball leagues, all of those things. So I don't understand we have to do this for everybody else that just doesn't have the ability to attend anything. I'd like to address the proffer situation. Currently, only $3,500 in the proffer fund is unencumbered, which means it's been promised to something else. So we're going to have to actually go in and unencumber that to actually go in for proffers for the Y. If the Y can raise money, I think they should take a year or two, put up a board, show where they're at, and start raising funds. When you get halfway, you start building the Y. I'm not opposed to the Y, but I don't believe with the needs the Caroline citizens have now, including Caroline High School students and Caroline citizens in general with communications, the fire and rescue, the bus drivers, the sheriff's office, everybody's needs are in that communication system, which is going to cost us. The other thing that's sort of interesting is we have a piece of the application here in our board packet, and the Caroline County portion isn't filled out. I guess it doesn't need to be, but we're supposed to act on this tonight. I think that the figures that should have been in this document should have been filled in so that we had them when we approved it tonight, if it gets approved. But aside from that, this document's fairly lengthy, very thick, and a lot of very interesting statements made in it, like some of the statements that say the leasing between the authority and the county, like we're going to be leasing the YMCA. The YMCA pays $1 a year. All major maintenance falls on the county to be done to that building if it's needed. As Mr. Aker said, we own the building, we own the maintenance. Whatever happens, Caroline County residents will pay to do that. Interest only for 5 years, and then the remainder of that principal will be laid on everybody else because the money in the proffer fund isn't there. Right now, Ladysmith Village, the builder that's there, is building their last set of complexes, and they're pulling out, and they're gone for at least 6 months. That's the last builder that's currently in the county building. I don't see the money coming from the proffer fund to pay for this. We've raised a little over $1 million in 12 years in the proffer fund. A lot of that has gone for road projects on the western side of the county. They were needed, that's what the proffer fund was for. But the proffer fund can also probably be used for the communication system that we need. Again, those are needs that the citizens of the county have, and it serves the western side of the county. I think those are the kinds of things that need to be looked at. And in terms of the use, I'm still looking at the sports complex on the west side of the county that's now empty. There's no user, and the user that was there has basically closed the facility down. It was a great facility, and right now, nobody has access to it. Those are just a few of the questions that I have and some of the things I think we need to consider before we move forward on this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Seeley. Mr. Popowitz.
Yes, sir. Memory serves, there is proffers set aside that are encumbered for recreation, that are tied directly to Ladysmith Village, I believe. Okay. So even though they may be encumbered, they're encumbered for this purpose, number one. Number two, in looking at the folks that have come forward to help with the payment of the Y, I think you have some people there that are able, willing, ready to put their money up for this. And I don't think that the citizens of Caroline County are going to pay one dime for this building. When opportunity knocks, sometimes you have to open the door. And what we're really doing is a pass-through for funding this through the IDA. Not unlike you would do for the state fair, which has borrowed monies through the IDA before. This is sort of the same type of thing. And if we can get a facility that is paid for by private funding that benefits all of Caroline County, I've got to be for that. Those are my comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Popowitz. Mr. Underwood, questions, comments?
My comments are that, Mr. Aker, certainly you make some good argument, good points, as well, Mr. Seeley, concerning projects that are coming before us very shortly. When I talked to the citizens of Reedy Church District, there were some for the Y, some opposed to the Y. And they really leave it up to me. I went to Mr. Akers and I asked him, I said, how much is it going to cost the taxpayers of this county? And that was the question that he answered. And I'm holding him to his word that it will not cost the taxpayers of this county one dime based on the proffers and the campaign that's going to raise money for this YMCA. I've attended YMCA in Richmond. I used to work with the AAU program back in '73, the first AAU track program for YMCA. I know what it can do for a community as I watched the North Richmond YMCA grow from a very small building, not inclusive, to one that was inclusive of the community. And I'm hoping that we can do the same in Caroline County.
Okay. I guess my comments for the Y or regarding the Y project, and I thought the Y was a good idea, like a lot of people. It's a good idea. Maybe now is not the right time for it. And my opinion was, if the county was going to borrow money for the Y and be involved in borrowing money for the Y, maybe we should centrally locate the Y. Maybe put it at the high school or something of that nature. That was my opinion. Personally, I never, well, actually I did. I tried to learn to swim at the Y, and that didn't work, but something about I couldn't float, but that was another story. And I never had to use the Y to exercise or anything like that. But I do know a lot of people who have used the Y. And there are very good things about it. I think what we have